So let's review the coding challenge. Beginner JavaScript. So, question number 1. I'm going to skip it. You remember I told you before, if you find the question particularly complicated, please skip it, because this is about productivity. What's the point of wasting maybe 30 minutes of the time in a complicated question, right? Maybe we can use that time to solve 2 or 3 questions. So I'll skip it for now. I'll probably be back later, but for now I'll skip it. Question number 2, I like it. On Thursday with Gray, we'll go through the fundamentals of JavaScript. So you'll learn what is a Boolean, what is a string, what is an array. You'll learn all these things. But for now, all of a sudden, we've got the questions about Boolean. You know, a Boolean, true or false? Yeah? Am I sexy, true or false? Am I rich, true or false? Yeah? Binary, true states. Does it make sense, right? So the question here is, we receive an argument and we need to determine whether the argument is a Boolean or not. So, is true a Boolean? Yes. Is true like that a Boolean? No. What type of data is that? String, that's correct. Is false a Boolean? Yes. Is 0 a Boolean? No. Is empty array a Boolean? No. Yeah, so that's the problem. Now, in JavaScript, back to the right-hand side. The first thing we need to do is we need to pass the argument, right? So remember, the exercise, we receive how many arguments our function receives? 1, only 1. Yeah, you see, 1, 1, 1, 1. We have an argument. How would you call the argument, guys? Argument. Well, fair enough. So we can call it argument. From a semantics point of view, what do you think? Is argument a descriptive name? Say it again?
Can be a variable x.
X, all right, so we got argument, we got X. Can we call it Boolean? Do you think it's good or bad? Why bad? Exactly. You shouldn't call that variable Boolean, because it may be a Boolean, but it may not, right? So it's good to be specific, but we shouldn't be too much specific, right? So we should be careful with the specificity of our semantics. I like what Supriya suggested, X, because we don't know, right? We don't know, X. All right, and now, when we have a JavaScript function, again, on Thursday, Gray will do a workshop, introduction to functions and everything. But for now, that should start something familiar in your head. In JavaScript, you can type return, and then the condition. So how do we check if X is a Boolean or not? Type, yes, correct. So to check the type in JavaScript, you can type that. Type of X equals Boolean. Yep. So if X is a Boolean, the function will return what? True or false? True, correct. And if X is a string a string equal a Boolean? No, it will return false. Let's pay attention to that bit. Some people do that. Look, you see it's underlined in red. That's wrong. Yeah? When you put a single equals, you're assigning the value. We don't want to assign, we don't want to change anything. We just want to compare. Is A equal to B? Is B equal to C? We're going to compare. Whenever we want to compare, we can do 2 things. Either that, double equals, or that, triple equals. I'm not going to explain the differences now between double equals and triple equals. For now, never ever do that. That's considered a huge anti-pattern in JavaScript. Why? Because this is very relaxed. If you do that, look, if I test it, it works. So, hey, it works. But in the long term, depending on what do you compare, you'll end up having problems. Have you ever heard about a guy called Douglas Crockford? So this man with his sexy t-shirts is one of the fathers of JavaScript. Yeah, I was lucky enough to be with him in a conference some years ago. So he wrote the most popular book about JavaScript ever. Does anyone know the name of the book? The Good Parts. That's correct. So JavaScript, The Good Parts, is quite small and quite old. So I couldn't personally recommend you to read that book. But historically speaking, that was the Bible of JavaScript. And interestingly enough, if I go to Google Images, and I type JavaScript versus The Good Parts, actually I got it there already, so you can see the difference, right? I mean, this is an old joke. JavaScript, huge language, the good parts, tiny, yeah? But still, why I'm showing you that? Because according to Douglas Crackford, double equals is evil. You shouldn't use it. Even if you don't understand why, don't use it. If you go to a job interview and you drop double equals, it smells. You need to have a shower, right? So don't use double equals. Always use triple equals. All right, so triple equals. And then semicolon or not semicolon? What do you think? Semicolon, right? We learned that before. Do you remember when we did the quick demo? All right, and now the solution is literally perfect. Do you have any questions? No? Let me have a look to your code. All right, so that was question number 2, actually. So question number 2, you see Wesley, the variable is called val, all right, fair enough. And then, look at for Alberto. That's interesting, right? You can compare. That's why I recommend you to check your code. You can do that actually now if you want. From now on, you can check the code of your challenges. If you compare, and I like also to include Darius. Not sure if we can see everyone here, right? I hope you can see. You see Wesley, Alberto, and Darius. So look at the simplicity of Wesley compared to the others, yeah? So you can see how easy the problem is. Type of value is Boolean. Yeah? Of course, you can do that. If type of the variable is Boolean, return true. Else, return false. That's absolutely correct. From an academic and educational point of view, that's absolutely perfect. If else, that's it. But you can see, Alberto, that you can simply return that. Type of variable equal Boolean. If that's true, it will return true. If that's false, it will return false. Yeah? And also mind the double equals. Yeah, I like Wesley. I'll give you 1 point here. All right, pretty much the same thing for Darius, right? You see, it's a bit overcomplicated. He probably spent 10 minutes thinking about it, right? It's one line. And same for Fabio, very elegant. I like it, Fabio. I'll give you 1 point as well. What else? Elana. Interesting. That's very interesting indeed. So, do you think, guys, this line will ever run? No. In JavaScript, as soon as you type return, that's it. The function is over. You can do something weird, something dodgy, something illegal. You can buy on the deep web. You can vote for Brexit or Donald Trump. It will never ever happen, right? So as soon as you type return, that's it. That's why that line, actually that's illegal. If I execute the line, it will blow up. But because the line is never happening, the code is correct. You see? So that's actually the good answer. For Supriya, let me have a look. It's the same thing for Supriya. You see? That's the first line is correct. And because the first line is correct, it doesn't really matter. So that's unnecessary. Even that's not necessary, right? So the only line that does the trick is that one. And what else? All right, so for Mo it didn't work actually. Why didn't work for Mo? If I provide true, it will work. If I provide false, it will work. But what happens if I provide the number 45? What will our method return? What? It will not work. Correct, it will not work. But why? What will the method return if I pass a number? Wrong? No? Not true? So will that be okay or not? Will it stop here? Is 45 equal true? No. Okay, no problem at all. Let's continue. Is 45 equal false? No. Then what? What happened here? Undefined. Fantastic. That's it. JavaScript by default returns undefined. If JavaScript doesn't really know what to return, undefined. That's a magic word. That's why it didn't work for Mo. Yeah. Cool. Any question, guys, in regards to that particular problem? No? Okay, so let's go to question number 3, which is very similar. Very similar, right? So you can see that we can quickly get another extra points here, free sugar, because that's the same principle. Is number. Right. You remember before we did something like that. Type of X. How can we check if it's a number instead of a Boolean? Yes, just put number here. That's good, right? Because it's easy to predict. And as you can see, it works. Type of X equal number. Any questions? I mean, these two problems are equivalent, are pretty much talk about the same thing. Oh, Daniel, you got it right. Oh, that's weird. I don't know why you didn't get any points here, Daniel. That's a bit strange. But essentially, that's actually correct. Same thing for Wesley. You see, Alberto, that's the same story, right? So you can simply return that. Return type of variable equal number. That's great for Darius, 1 point for him. Great for Fabio, 1 point for him. For Elana, again, the same thing, right? And this is not your fault. This because we need to get used to the platform itself. We don't really need to do that. We don't need to call the function. The function is going to be called by the system automatically, right? So the only thing we need to do is to create the function. That's it. The same thing for Supriya, right? So that's not necessary. Yeah, so that was question number 3. Anything you want to talk about here? No? Easy, right? Before going to question number 4, I would like to skip it and go to question number 5. I'm sure you've said, oh, what the hell is that, right? Why this is so complicated suddenly? Why there is so much coding here? The approach is different. We are not expected to create any new functionality. Imagine that you are working with a colleague and today there is a Champions League match and your colleague is leaving the office before expected, yeah? And he or she is asking you, could you please see why my code is not working? That's a good example. The code is there, you're not expecting to type anything unless there is something wrong. So, does anyone know what's wrong here? I mean, I don't know what's going on underneath. Just looking at that function. Do you see anything smelly here? Say it again? Correct. Do you remember what we said before, that in JavaScript you receive something and you return something else? What is that function returning? Undefined. What is the return statement? If I do Control F, return, there is no return. It doesn't exist. So what does JavaScript returns if there is no return statement? Undefined. So the only thing we need to do, again, even if we don't really understand what that means, we're not expected to fully understand that, the first smelly thing is, hey, we're doing something here, return it. The function should return something. All right, so let's evaluate it to see if it works or not. It doesn't work yet. It doesn't work yet. And because it doesn't work yet, I would like to see the next function. So get rounded temperature. So we have a function here that is invoked from here. You see, on Thursday, Gray will talk about how to call a function and all these things. He'll explain all these details. But for now, what is that function returning? Nothing. Undefined. Again. It's all the same thing all the time. You should return something. So come here, return. And likewise, let's scroll down. What is that function returning? Nothing. You see, it's the same problem. Where is the return statement? No. Okay, fine. That's a good point. So this is like an inner return. So that's a return that affects that part. But at the end of the function, do we have any return statement here? No. Can I do that? It's case sensitive, right? That's not correct. Return, small letters. And here, the same thing. This is all a command. We'll learn that. This is what we call a ternary. If the temperature is about 20 degrees, it's awesome. Else, if it's still greater than 10 degrees, so that means it's between 10 and 20, fair. And otherwise, by default, if it's below 10 degrees, it's terrible, right? This is an entire command. So in which line we should type the return statement? On the first one, 27, right? That's correct. Yeah, return statement, all the time. And then it works. Any questions?
Is it good practice to sort of chain the ternaries like that?
That's a really good question. To me, this is on the limit. I'll show you the classic way to build that. So what we try to build here is if temperature is greater or equal to 20, return what? Awesome. Else if, you tell me, else if what? Oh, sorry. What do I type here? Temperature is what? 10, return what? Fair. And then what? Else, do I need another if or not? No, because yes, this is not the default scenario, right? Return what? Terrible.
If you were to accidentally keep the if in the last else, would that throw a problem?
Here?
Yeah.
And then what? What do we put here? Yeah, what's the condition? Yeah, there is. So, do you agree, guys, that that's a bit weird. I don't know why it's not scrolling. Give me a sec. Oh, hello. Oh, God. Yeah. So, do you agree? Look, these lines are equivalent to these lines. Two different ways of writing the same code. Which one do you prefer and why? Top or bottom? Top. Top for you?
I understand the top.
Fair enough. Both are equally valid. To me, that makes sense when you have something very simple to evaluate, like return, am I sexy? Then yes, else no. Something like that, right? Very simple, A-B, easy. You can understand that. But when we talk about nested scenarios, it's not that convenient from a readability point of view. At the end of the day, this is personal. Yeah? The readability depends on the person. But the more complex the expression is, the more convenient the classic if-else structure is. Don't try to write super sexy code. You should be comfortable with your code, with the code you write. So if you find that pattern better, just go for it. Stick to it. Yeah? But these options are equivalent. All right, so again, let me have a look to your code. Yeah, I mean, it was impossible to do any magic. Either you found the answer or you didn't, right? It was just about adding return statements all around. So everyone, I believe, did pretty much the same thing. All right, so any question, guys, in regards to this problem? No? So which one do you prefer to do next? The first one about for off video games, or I think the fourth one about dates? Dates? Okay, let's do dates. Probably we get time to do both. So that means the question was pointless. So question number 4. That's interesting. This is one of the most complicated questions on beginner training. Let's try to understand the problem first. That's important, guys. Before typing any single line of code, we should think about it. Do you know the difference between a coder and a programmer, by the way? No? A coder is the person that codes. And a programmer is the person that thinks about the problem and then codes. Yeah? It's not a joke, it's serious. A coder is a person that receives a list of requirements, a breakdown of things, and just without thinking why and anything, just translate it into a computer language. Yeah? A programmer has a broader vision. So what do you prefer to be? A programmer or a coder? A programmer. Yeah? It's much better. It's much better. Completely off topic. So one of the guys that is joining the full time, he's a former recruiter. So he's been dealing with the job market and he really knows everything about that, right? He said that when he was working as a recruiter, a company approached them. You know how much the company was paying for a senior React developer? 1,200 a day. It's good money, yeah? I don't know why that example came to my mind at the moment. But anyway, yeah, because they were looking for a programmer. But still, just someone able to deal with React. Look, how many arguments our function receives? 2, correct. First of all, we have a date object. We'll see what that means in the future. And then number. So the problem is, I think it's a particularly interesting problem. We have a date, time, what date is that, guys? 10th of January of 2023, probably, yeah? Okay, so we got that date, and we need to add 30 minutes. If it's 11 o'clock straight, the eventual minutes will be 30, because 0 plus 30 is 30. On the second case, same day, but we start counting at 25 past 11. 25 plus 11 plus 20 minutes, it's quarter to 12, right? Are you following me? The problem? Yeah, we move the time of our alarm or whatever. And on the third example, if it's 5 to 12, and we add 10 minutes, in which minute are we? In 5 past 12. Yeah, that's the problem. If we don't understand that, obviously it's impossible to find a valid answer. Again, that's a bit tricky, but let's do our best. So first of all, can you tell me the name of the first argument? Date. I like it. Date sounds reasonable, right? It's much better than Brexit because it's not telling me anything about the context of the problem. But date sounds sensible. And the second one? Minutes, all right? Minutes, yeah, fair enough, minutes. Better than hours, right? That would be completely awkward because we're talking about minutes, not hours. So yeah, date and minutes. So in JavaScript, we can manipulate dates in a relatively simplistic way. And now there is one exception that I'll show you in a minute. So, how do we change the number of minutes of a date? Set minutes. correct. So can we do that? Let's try that. And then how do we get the minutes of a date? Get minutes. You see, that's pretty cool, right? Set minutes and get minutes. Let's try this code. It doesn't work. On the second exercise, we return 20, but we expected to return 45. Why? Yes, we're expecting to add 20 minutes to the current time. Are we adding 20 minutes to the current time? No, why not? Correct, we are setting. We said, hey, the new time is 20 past 11. But we don't want that. We want to add whatever the current time is. If it's 25, it will be 25 plus 20. If it's 55, it will be 55 plus 10, that will be 5, right? Because we move to the next hour. So how do we add minutes to the existing number of minutes? How do we get the current minutes of that date? Say it again? Correct. They don't get minutes. Or we can move it on the other way around. That doesn't matter, right? A plus B or B plus A. We said, hey, let's change the time in our watches. The new time will be whatever the time was, get minutes. If it's 10:10, if it's 20:20, doesn't matter. Plus the new offset. Yeah, 10 plus 20, 0 plus 30, whatever. Let's see if that works. It does work. It does work. Yeah. So this is one of the most complicated questions on beginner training. Of course, you are more than welcome now to go to training. I'll show you. And then as part of training, JavaScript, and then beginner, and then scroll down and do the dates module. Yeah, you're more than welcome to practice with this. All right, so let me have a look to your code. So, look, for Daniel, that's interesting. It's the same thing. I think it didn't work. Only Daniel because of that. So we don't need to do that. Yeah, the function will be called automatically. Second. The thingy. What's the technical name of that character, guys? Backtick, correct. This is valid. Starting from 2015, that's valid. So that's correct. We'll see in the future why this character that you probably never used before is so sexy. We'll see in the future. But anyway, I think the solution was correct, Daniel. The only problem is you don't have to call the function, right? Cool. So all good for Wesley. Whoa. So all date minutes. Oh, ho, ho. The date get time, new date set. Oh, why didn't work for Alberto? Can anyone see the problem? It's overcomplicated, but the idea was still correct. Correct. What is the function expected to return? A number, the new number of minutes. However, Alberto is returning a date object. It's returning something different, yeah? So what will we need here, Alberto, to solve the problem? Yeah, new date.getMinutes. If you return new date.getMinutes, even though this is overcomplicated, it will work. So for Supriya, it's the same problem. That's a bit unfortunate, guys. Well, no, apart from that problem, there is another problem on Supriya solution. Can anyone spot it? Say it again. You pass new object. No. Ignore that line. No. The problem is not here. The problem is here.
Yes, okay, small and
Small what?
Missing parentheses. It's missing,
So there are two issues.
missing parentheses.
Correct. These are the two issues. First of all, as Supriya spotted, should be big M. Yeah? And then here, because we want to call the function, we need to add parentheses, yeah? Which is a very weird word for British citizens, because you don't use it that much. This is American, yeah? Parentheses. Cool. So, braces, which is confusing because we've got curly braces, we've got the square braces. No, parentheses. And, yeah, obviously that does not really doing anything for Elana, I'm afraid. Let's have a look to Fabio. It works. It works, eh? Good, it works, fantastic. Can anyone spot any warning according to Airbnb guidelines? Yes. You see? 1, 2. 1, 2. Code should start here. Again, it's just subtle. The code works. In Python, that will miserably fail, but in JavaScript it works. However, it feels, Cool. So I think we still got 10 minutes. So let's do, I think we got one question missing, right? The first one, actually. So let's do question number 1. Spell video game name. So we receive a string, and we want to go one after the other. G-O-D, blah, 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 blah. Yeah? When you are talking to British Gas or Thames Water, and you need to tell them your postcode or your last name, and then they are unable to understand it, and you need to spell it, so that's pretty much the same problem, right? Cool. There are different ways to spell characters in JavaScript. However, that sometimes happens. The exercise recommends a given approach. So let's do that. We want to iterate over the argument. How would you call the argument, guys? Game. Can I call it game name? Because that's the name. Or game title, maybe, just the message. Cool. So now look at what I'm going to do. Again, Gray will go over these things on Thursday. I'm going to create a variable. And the variable is going to be called result, for instance. Does anyone know how to create a variable in JavaScript? Let. Yeah, that's the way you tell JavaScript, hey, I want to create a variable. And we'll see what to do with it. Result equals, and I'm going to create a list. Technically speaking, list of elements, fruits, apple, orange, banana, countries, Germany, France, Italy, characters, Donald, Kim, Boris. A list of elements is an array in JavaScript. Does anyone know how to create an array in JavaScript? Square brackets, like that. In other words, that's an empty list, an empty basket of items. Yeah? You go to Tesco, you pick the basket, it's empty, we'll fill it in a minute. All right. And now, look. You will see this is very personal. Everyone has different style. But for me, I don't really like to follow a chronological sequential order, not necessarily. I prefer, first of all, to do the easy part of the exercise, and then I'll focus on the chicken, on the meat of the problem. So, what do I know? I create a variable, I'll do something, and at the end, I'll return it. Result. Okay. Is that chronological? No, because I need to do something here, right? Oh, result? No, result. Yep. So now, in here, I want to fill my list of characters. And actually, I'm going to rename it. I'm not very happy with the word result because it tells me nothing. Can I call it characters? Yeah, why not? Again, very personal. And now let's learn how to loop, how to iterate our array of characters. You can use a for loop. That applies to other programming languages like PHP, for loop. This is very, very old. And then what? Look, you can do that. Let character of characters. That's the key. So when you do for let character, you can put whatever you want here. Eh? You can put Brexit again if you want. That doesn't matter. But the thing is, that will iterate over the list of characters. So for instance, if our game is FIFA, how many times that loop will run? 4, that's correct. For each time, character will refer to one character. First of all will be F, then will be I, then will be F, and then will be, then will be A. Yeah? So now, how do we add the character, each character, to the list of characters? Push, that's correct. In JavaScript, the way you fill the basket, characters dot push, and now with parentheses, what? What do you push? Say it again? The name, the character itself, right? FIFA. Like that. Oops, sorry. See, I understand that's a bit tricky, but that's the way it works. You iterate over a list of elements, and then for each element, push. Yeah? And again, to me, this probably won't be necessarily the easiest way to solve the problem. But hey, this is what the exercise requires. Oh, it doesn't work, so I did something wrong. Oh, there's a typo. Character. What the hell? What am I missing?
Do you need the index? Do you have the index of characters?
No, not really. Oh, yeah, of course. Sorry. It's half eight almost, right? So look, yes, you are right, guys. You are right. That's completely stupid. How many times line number 4 is running? If my game is called FIFA, how many times this line is running? Wrong. None, correct. Why? Because by mistake, yeah, correct. Look, I'm iterating over an empty array. So how many elements an empty array has? 0. That's a big mistake, right? So we should iterate something like that, right? Character of the name of the video game. That's why we are here, right? Cool. So if we try again, now, of course it works, and we got a lot of confetti. Yeah?
When do you define the game name?
When do you define the game? No, the game, look, it's inside of the parentheses. That's the argument. So we are capturing the name of the game that the algorithm is passing. So on the first example, this is the name of the game. On the second example, this is the name of the game. So that's dynamic. Yeah, that's dynamic. And every time, game name will be different. But that's fine. Regardless of what the name is, we'll iterate one character after the other. Yes. Because JavaScript is smart enough to understand that if you want to iterate over a string, in reality, you want to access each character individually. We'll talk about that probably towards the end of the bootcamp. Yeah? This is because in reality, a string is something iterable. Iterable means you can iterate. You can start from the beginning and you can go until the end. Yeah? Do you think an array, if I got an array of fruits, something like that, apple, orange, and banana, is that fruits variable iterable? Yes, because I can go from the beginning to the end. There is a sequence of elements. If I have a Boolean, is that iterable? No. Where is the list? It doesn't make sense. It's just A or B, right? There is no list in here. So yes, so some variable types are iterable. Arrays are iterable, but strings are iterable as well. That's why we can go one character after the other. Any other questions? No? Cool. So let me have a look to your code, and we'll call it a day pretty much. So, all right. So for Wesley, so the thing is, Wesley solved the problem, but he didn't follow the instructions. Yeah, because here we were explicitly asked to use for off, and he used a different structure for in. Again, I'm not going to explain the differences now, but you can see that on the training, and we'll talk about it over the next weeks. Yeah. All right. So
is there a reason why you would, instead of using Wesley's method, you would stipulate to use the one in the
yeah, because sometimes the exercises want you to prove that you know how to solve a problem following a particular pattern. Imagine that you didn't write that code, that a colleague of you left the company and you need to fix a problem in there. You don't want to rebuild the algorithm, you just want to fix it. So it's important to understand different coding styles. Yeah? All right, look, tell me your thoughts about Darius' solution. You like it? Would you change anything here?
It's not very descriptive.
That's the problem. Even though Darius literally did the same thing I did, I find a bit stressful Monday at 7:30 to understand what X means, what A means, what B means. Yeah? We should play a bit with the semantics. Sometimes it's not possible. Remember, it's a Boolean. We cannot do magic. But in that particular case, I think we could be a bit more explicit. For instance, Fabio, I like it. Game, at least he's telling me something. Characters, I like it. Still wrong, right? Still using a different pattern. But hey, from a readability point of view, I like it. Cool. Guys, anything else? No?
Is there an easier way to do it, just on one line? Or,
Yes. There is a way to do it in one line, but I'm not going to tell you the answer now. Think about it. So for today is pretty much it. It's 7:30. Thinking for Thursday. I've sent on Slack, if you check the Slack channel, a couple of videos. Please watch them. This is just to make sure your laptop is ready to start coding. Installing Git, installing Visual Studio Code, installing Node, creating a GitHub account, setup. Yeah, setup. Please try to do it. On Thursday, Gray will continue next session. He'll talk about JavaScript functions, data, structures, all these things, and he'll tell you about next steps. On Thursday, you'll essentially start working with Codeflix. You'll start creating an app on Thursday. That's pretty much the message. Yeah, I know the first session has been a bit intense, many things, many emotions, but yeah, I hope you enjoy it. So